$1 billion bounty for the man who would marry his gay daughter. That offer from Hong Kong real estate tycoon Cecil Chao set off a media frenzy and forced his daughter Gigi Chao out of the closet.
Another action of coming out, I think, is an action of gay pride. I think I never really got that chance before to digest it and think about what the statement was. So I was kind of thrown out, and then I kind of had to scramble and figure out a cohesive message afterwards.
She would respond with a poignant open letter to her father. The saga was a watershed moment for Gigi, who went on to become a vocal LGBTQ activist. In 2019, she co-founded the group Hong Kong Marriage Equality.
My goal is to promote dignity for individuals, but also give them a seat at the dinner table. I'm Gigi Chao, and this is why you should listen to me.
Welcome, Gigi Chao. Thanks for joining us. It has been over 10 years since you penned that poignant letter to your father about your sexuality. Can you tell us, how have your parents' feelings evolved about the issue? Where are you and they at about this now?
I think in the beginning, both my parents, mom and dad, found it a bit shocking that we were suddenly outed by the sequence of events over a decade ago. But I think coming out is a process that you have to do over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I will say that my dad particularly has really come a long, long way. And he's now quite the accepting sort of father-in-law type personality. I wouldn't say that he's never been a man of many words. Mm-hmm. He likes to keep to himself and smile politely and eat his food, at the dinner table. But he always makes an effort to include my partner in, all of the family gatherings, be it birthdays or Christmas or Chinese New Year. He's really made an effort to make sure she feels part of the family, and I think that is just, amazing to really realize how far he's come.
Daddy's expressed publicly countless times that marriage is not for him. But for his little girl, she ought to get married. And so when I was 32 and in a stable relationship of 7 years, I decided to try again. This time, got out my iPad, showed father some photos of me and my partner then, and I told him, I'm in a happy relationship, Daddy. I'd like to give some sort of assurance, stability for my partner. He looked at the photos and could only say, this is very, very wrong. He made me promise that I should tell no one. This was to remain a secret. Don't whisper it to a soul. I agreed. That went well for about 6 months. However, within 6 months, my partner and the response from my father made her burst at the seams. She was bursting to tell people. So who better to tell but the Hong Kong press? So very soon, Daddy started getting phone calls from local press, inundated inquiries about our relationship. He was probably in a panic. And he thought, oh, poor Gigi, she's hopeless. She's too hardworking and has probably no prospects of finding a half-decent husband now, not on her own. Why don't I do something for her? Dip into my savings and try to buy her one. How about $1 billion Hong Kong dollars? That should do it. And on the news that came out, who would have thought that his promise of mansions and $1 billion Hong Kong dollars was something that over 10,000 suitors would actually find attractive?
I think the trigger was that he kind of doubled the marriage bounty, just completely bonkers ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing in the beginning was a bit, and I kind of went along and played along with it because I thought, hey, you know, there's all this going on with him emotionally and he wants to save face, so okay, let him do his thing. That's his way of coping, you know, throw money at it. But when he kind of enjoyed it a bit too much, I thought, no, this is going the wrong way. You kind of have to put a stop to it. And so I wrote him a letter, and we tend to write each other letters. We love, he's like an old school guy. He has this kind of really squiggly handwriting. And so he likes writing me little notes and I write him little notes.
How has coming from a high profile family helped or maybe hindered your cause?
Growing up again in the 80s, 90s, no one really talked about LGBTIQ gay issues. I think society as a whole has really leaped forward and embraced sexualities and gender identities in a way that I think the previous generation couldn't even imagine. And so in some ways there's this kind of almost disconnect from people that were alive when homosexuality was criminalized to the present younger generation, which have really embraced the freedoms and diversity that is, you know, human gender and human sexuality and the private family life that everyone is entitled to and the dignity that comes from living your full self. And all that is, for me, something to be celebrated. And so I don't mind being quite open about my, I guess, personal life because, well, it's a privilege for anyone that's interested to want to know. It's nothing that I wouldn't share if you asked. But in terms of sort of higher society, there is still that air of conservatism that prevents a lot of open discussion. And I think, you know, it's a blade that cuts both ways. Of course, coming from a place of privilege, it opens doors, but you also have to read between the lines and understand, you know, where the balance is and to keep in line. And so I personally like to push the envelope just that little bit to make sure everything's moving in the right direction.
婚姻平權帶俾同性戀者、異性戀者、跨性別人士，最重要嘅正正係婚姻呢兩個字，因為婚姻背後帶俾我哋愛、承諾、家庭同埋社會嘅認同，正正係我哋所有 LGBTIQ 成個嘅community最想得到，讓每一個同志不再要躲喺呢個衣櫃入面。
So Hong Kong marriage equality was set up in 2019, perhaps the worst year ever to set up an organization. Yes. Or you might say the best year strategically because it, I guess the last 4 years was a time of flux and change, and in some ways non-profit organizations or sort of civil society organizations are precisely the organizations that are required to provide support to society at a time when there is so much flux and change. And so, you know, given that the Court of Final Appeal in the STK case has ruled in September 2023 that the Hong Kong government has 2 years to put in place a framework to recognize same-sex relationships. I think it's certainly a very exciting time that we can support the government and support civil society to put together really a comprehensive set of laws that protects the community, that builds social cohesion, that builds family harmony. My goal, or the goal of Hong Kong marriage equality, is to promote dignity for individuals, but also give them a seat at the dinner table.
And I just understand the government, they were asked in LGBTQ recently about what progress has been made, and it was quite a general, we're working on it. Yes. So how do you feel? Do you think the government's doing enough so far, or would you like them to be a bit more vocal about progress being made?
I think personally, social cohesion and family harmony should be at the heart of every government's agenda. So, of course, national security is important, the economy is important, but I think marriage equality is urgent and important because the mental health of our young people and the hope that young people have for society depends on it. There is extensive statistics and research that says marriage equality actually gives hope to young people, and it reduces suicide rates by 17%. And so that's a huge number, and I do think, especially people that live within urban environments, mental health is a huge issue. And I'm not saying marriage equality is the one answer to mental health, but it's part of the answer. It's part of a society of acceptance and inclusion that allows young people to feel hope and feel included. And whatever your gender identity or sexuality, it gives us dignity to be who we are. And whether within the family, at the workplace, or just in personal lives, we can live our full selves. And that is very important. That is very urgent. And if we don't have that, I don't think that, having lots of money will give you happiness.
Final question to the skeptics out there. Why would you say is it important for Hong Kong to recognize same-sex partnership, A, for individuals and B, for society?
Asian societies are all about families and our role within the families, how many parents have sacrificed, their sleeping hours, the money to look after kids. And all we want is for the next generation to grow up happy, healthy. They're so smart. We've got technology. I mean, we've got all the street smarts. We've got all the book smarts there for them, and they're ready to take on the world. But emotionally, how are we looking after them? How are we giving everybody a seat at the table to make sure that there's cohesion within society and within the family? And marriage equality is a crucial piece of the puzzle to make sure that everybody's working together. I know there are skeptics that think, having equal marriage will just turn everyone gay. The world's going to end and no one's going to have kids anymore. I think if we are logical and reasonable about it, we know that this hasn't happened worldwide. On the contrary, it's better for the economy, it brings in tourism dollars, it's better for business, and it's better for mental health of young people. And I think if, as parents, as individuals in society, we want a better tomorrow, then marriage equality is part of the answer.
Great. Thanks so much for your time, Gigi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.